Before diving into how to generate slides with Gemini in Google Slides, let's review the report that we are working with. The report shown on screen contains data from Google's e-commerce, where it sells the company's merchandising. This data comes from Google Analytics 4. The report has 2 pages, Overview and Trends. On the first page, we have 4 scorecards displaying some of the site's most important metrics. These metrics are total users, that represents the total number of users who visited the site, new users, which refers to users who visited the site for the first time during the analyzed period, engagement rate, which is a specific metric from Google Analytics 4, and it shows the percentage of sessions where users interacted with the site, and purchase conversion rate, which is the percentage of users who completed a purchase. If we scroll down a bit, we can see on one side a bubble chart about marketing channels, and on the other side, a table on landing pages. The marketing channels chart shows the relationship between the number of users and the conversion rate for each channel. The landing pages table lists the pages users enter the site through. It displays the session metrics to identify the main access point and the engagement rate to help assess the quality of the traffic. If we go to the second page, to trends, we see the 4 main metrics, so total users, new users, engagement rate, and conversion rate. But this time we are looking at their trends. Each metric has its own time series chart showing data from January to September 2024. Now, let's dive into how to generate the slides. You'll notice that when you are on edit mode, there is a column on the right side where you can see data, properties, filter bar, and Gemini. This last option is the one we need to click on to see how to generate the slides. If you don't see Gemini, it might be because you don't have it enabled. In that case, check out my video on the requirements to use it just in case you've missed any of the steps. Once we click on Gemini, you'll see the option to generate slides. If I click on generate slides, I can see that it can be done for all visualizations or just for a few ones with the option let me choose. I want to create them for all visualizations. So I click on it and it starts the process of creating the presentation. When it's done, it provides a link where I can access the slides. I've clicked on the link and now I can see that it has created a presentation with 1 slide per visualization, except for the scorecards. The first slide is about marketing channels. Let's read the comments and see how they are, as these comments are the most novel aspect of this functionality. Our slide on marketing channels has 3 bullet points in the comments. Let's remember that in the graph, we are analyzing users and the conversion rate by marketing channel. The first comments tell us that the direct traffic channel has generated the majority of users at 52.54%. Also, it notes that Displayed has brought in an insignificant percentage of users, less than 0.01%, meaning that it has generated nothing. So far, this is great because it highlights which channels are performing best and worst for one of the analyzed metrics, which is total users. The next point addresses the conversion rate, indicating that the referral channel has the highest rate at 3.35%. This comment is also very useful, as it shows us which channel performs best for the other analyzed metric, the conversion rate. Finally, it mentions that the average number of users per channel is 8,339. I personally believe that the last point lacks much value, as the average number of users per channel doesn't really tell us anything useful. Understanding how marketing channels work, we wouldn't expect all of them to bring in a similar amount of traffic. So knowing the average doesn't serve as a benchmark. For instance, if the average is 8,339 and Displayed is generating 100, I can't say that display is not performing well just because it's far from the average, as that wouldn't be a target for all channels. Each channel's target depends on the actions that the e-commerce takes and the behavior of the channel itself. After reviewing these comments, I find them great as a starting point because they indicate where I need to dig deeper. For example, in the case of the referral channel, the next step would be to look at which sources are contributed to that strong conversion rate. Regarding the last point, while the comment itself isn't bad, understanding what to highlight often requires knowledge of the industry or business, which in this specific case, the AI model doesn't seem to possess. This is where the analyst role comes in, as they need to ensure that the analysis is accurate. However, these comments serve as nearly perfect starting points. Now let's look at the second slide. Here we are analyzing the landing pages, meaning the first page users see during their session, along with the engagement rate for each of them. The first point states that the most successful landing page is the homepage, which amounts for 47% of the sessions. It also adds that this indicates a very high concentration of traffic, which is true, as we can see, that nearly half of the sessions enter the site through the same page, the homepage. The second point mentions that there are 157 landing pages with minimal engagement, representing only 0.1% of the total sessions. Looking at the graph, we can see that there are a total of 680 landing pages, and these 157 have generated just 0.1% of all sessions. This highlights that a few landing pages are receiving the majority of the traffic. Next, we can see that the average number of sessions per landing page is 220, indicating a very broad distribution of traffic across different pages. This means that while a few pages receive the most sessions, there are still many landing pages, 690 in total, with at least one visit. The comments continue by noting that 384 landing pages have achieved a maximum engagement, which is 100%, while 56 landing pages show no engagement at all, at 0%. It also suggests that we should investigate and optimize those pages underperforming. In this instance, we see that Gemini not only comments on the data, but also provides recommendations on what steps to take, specifically to investigate and optimize the underperforming pages. Moving on to the next slide, we begin to see the time series charts. The first one shows total users, stating that the total users have experienced a growth of 20.6% from January to September 2024. It also mentions that despite the overall growth throughout the year, there was a significant drop in users of nearly 47% from August to September. This is accurate and reflected in the graph. However, it doesn't clarify that the data for August includes the entire month, so 31 days, while September only accounts for half of the month, 15 days. This example further illustrates that the comments generated by Gemini are a great starting point, but they need to be validated by the analyst, who ideally has a deeper understanding of the context. I'm going to jump directly to the last slide because the previous two are very similar to the one we've seen about total users. And the last slide is showing us the trends on conversion rate. It mentions that the conversion rate was consistently low over the 9 months analyzed. Looking at the graph, we can see that except for January and April, it stays between 1 and 1.40%. But here, what really caught my attention is that Gemini has determined that a conversion rate between 1 and 1.40% is considered low. It's not just providing the numbers, it's also interpreting their significance. In the last point, it even states that this data indicates potential issues in the customer journey leading to purchase. In the second point, it mentioned that in month 4, the conversion rate was almost zero. An analyst, upon seeing this, would likely think that there was an implementation issue, but Gemini doesn't mention this possibility. Once again, we see how crucial the analyst's role is in validating these comments. In summary, as we have seen, these comments generated by Gemini are a very good starting point, but it is important that they are validated by an analyst. So that you can view this presentation yourself and read the comments, I have included the link to these slides generated by Gemini in the video description. And in the next video, we will look at an example using a different data source, which uses Google Sheets.